fine.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of What's Going On. I'm your host, Tom D'Ambra. As always, we're very thankful you take the time from your busy day to view our program. My friends, unfortunately, the Patriot movement has lost yet another courageous, brave patriot. Dr. Michael Kaufman, the one who risked career, academia certificates, financial gains, his marriage, everything. The one who risked it all to wake up to the American people about Agenda 21, the facade about global warming, the facade about global cooling, the facade about climate change, has passed away. I have been very fortunate. I have 2 signed books from Dr. Michael Kaufman. Dr. Michael Kaufman was a very proficient, articulate speaker. He came to St. Johnsbury, Vermont here twice. I had the opportunity to meet him, his lovely wife, and our condolences to Mrs. Kaufman and his family and the Patriot community at all of us, because he will be very much missed. This is sad, my friends. We lost Joyce Riley some weeks ago, and now last week, well, actually 2 weeks ago now, we lose Dr. Michael Kaufman. The Patriot movement appreciates your efforts and your courage, and may you have a safe, peaceful transition to the next realm, Dr. Michael Kaufman. Okay, my friends, let us get into some news. The bankers are at it again at the bequest of the people. Headline, this is from the Hang the Bankers website. Italian government to bail out 2 more banks for 5.2 billion euros. Italy's government is bailing out 2 more banks in the Venice region at a cost of 5.2 billion euros. Basically, my friends, it's $5.8 billion. The move comes 2 days after the European Central Bank warned that Banca Popolare di Venezia and Venezia Banca were failing. The bank's good assets will be taken on by Estia Sanpaolo Banking Group. Prime Minister Paolo Gentiloni said that the rescue was needed to protect the savers and ensure the good health of our banking system. How is it you have a good, healthy banking system when you're bailing out banks again? You don't have a good, healthy banking system. That's why you're bailing them out. Let us continue. The 2 banks' branches and employees will be part of Instia by Monday morning in a move designed to avoid a potential run on deposits that could have spread to other Italian banks. Do you think so? Let me tell you something, my friends. The day the common man of any nation that's involved with these central bankers, the day they understand the lack of money system, or as Henry Ford said, it is well the American people do not understand our banking and money system, for if they did, I'd fail to be a revolution by morning. My friends, the day the American people or the Italian people or any people of any nation gets to have knowledge and understand the lack of money system in the banking system, there will be runs on the banks, and there should be runs on the banks, and the banks should be taken down. Economic Minister Pier Carlo Padoan said Rome will also guarantee up to 12 billion euros for potential losses to Instia from bad or risky loans. Those who criticize us should say what a better alternative would have been, and I can't see it, said Economic Minister Pier Carlo Padoan. I will tell you what you got to do, Mr. Padoan. Very simple. You have the government issue non-interest bearing script and get these central bankers, these crony bankers, out of the mechanisms of putting money or lack of money, as in notes, but non-interest bearing script into circulation, and that will take care of it. There's your remedy, Mr. Padoan. Okay, let us continue. I wanted to give you an update on Representative Steve Scalise, the person who was shot down while he was practicing unarmed. He was practicing a softball tournament. Of course, we have to bring up the New York Times, how they went and they went and gave an article. Hey, look, you can go up to these people here because there's no protection for them. I wanted to let you know that Mr. Scalise has had 3 more major surgeries. He's still battling for his life. He's still in critical care condition. And I hate to say the G word, but pray to God for the health of this man and the recovery of this man. And pray to God that his work against the pedophilia, which is the reason why he was shot, will continue. Our prayers to Representative Steve Scalise, and I will also tell you that there's been changes made to the security that surrounds that field where they were playing. A bit too late, but our prayers to Mr. Steve Scalise. Okay, we all know this clown, this scumbag. He's living a high life. How do you like this guy? He runs for the poor people, right? Remember the whole thing. He was qualified as president of the United States because, quote unquote, he was a good community organizer. And he's all about the community. And he's all for the poor people. And that's all he's trying to do is help the poor people. As he's living in his mansions. As he's spent more money and more time on vacation than any other president. As he had to take both Air Force One aircraft so his family could use that while he was in Hawaii and South America and Cuba to fly around to other destinations. But he's working for the poor people, right? Let's see what we got to say about that. This is an interesting website. This is from teaparty.org. Obama illegally robbed Fannie, Freddie Mac to fund Obamacare. Now, I know we've covered some of this before in the past, but I want to get into it a little bit more. Will this be the final nail? Obama diverted money from low-income housing to keep Obamacare alive also. So he didn't just rob Freddie and Fannie. He also robbed a portion of the money that was diverted for low income through HUD. But he ran for the poor people, don't you see? Federal court litigation provides evidence that the Obama administration illegally diverted taxpayer funds that had not been appropriated by Congress in an unconstitutional scheme to keep Obamacare from imploding. In 2016, a U.S. district judge caught the Obama administration's Health and Human Services Department acting unconstitutionally and therefore put an end to the illegal diversion of taxpayer funds, but the Obama administration didn't stop there. Now, I want to read real quick. I attached the conclusion. This is from Rosemary Collier, United States District Judge. The court will grant a summary judgment to the House of Representatives and enter judgment in its favor. In other words, they're guilty. The court will also enjoin any further reimbursements under Section 1402 until a valid appropriation is in place. However, the court will stay its injunction pending any appeal by the parties, and memorializing order accompanies this opinion. So, I got a question for you. Is the court going to reimburse this stolen loot? No, you are. The Obama, let me continue reading. The Obama administration instead turned to the nation's 2 government-sponsored mortgage giants, Federal National Mortgage Association, commonly known as Fannie Mae, and the Federal Home Loan Mortgage Corporation, commonly known as Freddie Mac, to invent a new diversion of funds in a desperate attempt to keep Obamacare from collapsing. A key date is May 12, 2016. That was the day that the U.S. Judge Rosemary Collier, in the case of U.S. House of Representatives versus Brewell. Now, folks, if you want to look this up, it's 130F Supplement 3rd, 53 U.S. District Court for the District of Columbia, ruled against Health and Human Services Secretary Sylvia Matthews Burrell. Judge Collier decided HS Secretary Burwell had no constitutional authority to divert funds from Congress appropriated to one section of the ACA, Affordable Care Act, which is, anyway, to fund Obamacare subsidy payments to insurers under another section of the ACA, Section 1402, the clause defining the insurer's subsidies when Congress specifically declined to appropriate any funds under Section 1402 for paying the insurance subsidy. So where did all this money go? To the people who wrote the bill, the insurance companies. Payout Section 1402 reimbursements without any appropriation thus violates the Constitution, Judge Collier concluded. Congress authorized reduced cost sharing, but it did not appropriate monies for it in the fiscal year 2014 budget or cents. Congress is the only source for such an appropriation, and no public money can be spent without one. Folks, I have not heard any judge in this land for years actually quote the Constitution. Because understand, they're in a commercial venue of law. They're not in common law. U.S. District Court in this ruling entered a judgment in favor of the House of Representatives, barring the HSS from using unappropriated money to pay insurers under the Section 1402. What is at issue with Section 1402 was the Obamacare provision that capped the amount of federal subsidies under Section 1402 that lower income families could use to pay for insurance purchased on state insurance exchange, particularly the difference between the cap maximum based on a person's or family income in relation to the federal poverty level. Keep them three words in mind: federal poverty level. Congress has refused to pass an appropriations to fund Section 1402 in the section of the ACA that called for making insurance subsidy payments. In a report on March 2016, the Congressional Budget Office estimated the cost for providing Section 1402 subsidies over the next 10 years is estimated to be over $130 billion. Now, let me ask you a question. When's the last time an estimate for the government came in on what they estimated? It's always dramatically more. So this $130 billion is a stepping stone. Forbidden by Judge Collier's decision from diverting money from Congress appropriated for other ACA provisions to pay Section 1402 subsidies, the Obama administration faced the prospect that the government could not pay subsidies to permit lower-income persons and families to pay the amount of health insurance Obamacare was written to provide them. Either this or insurance would be forced to charge middle and high-income persons and families such outrageous amounts for their insurance coverage to subsidize the poor under the ACA. Got your own doctor? You can keep him. More lies for you folks. More lies. You wonder why premiums have gone up on some cases over 200%? Now, this scumbag was at it again. Remember the three words I said: federal poverty level. Federal poverty level. I will tell you, my friends, that I came down with a serious illness, and I have since been approved under a disability program. And I will tell you that, through Social Security, that I am now locked in below the federal poverty level from Social Security. I have been paying in since 1969. I am now locked into a federal poverty level. And you can say, oh, come on, D'Ambra. There's got to be something you can do, and there is, and I'm working on that, because I certainly am not going to be able to live on what they insured me for. But why is it that all these bankers that get caught laundering drug money, no one goes to jail? Why is it that from the Johnson administration on, The only one not to do it from the Johnson administration on was the Reagan administration, and that was to take funds from Social Security and into other dimensions of the budget. I'll give you a nice example. For instance, the Clinton administration, when the Congress would not fund the bombing of Bosnia, what did he do? Took it out of Social Security. But it doesn't stop there. Breaking news. Obama stole $1 billion from Social Security and gave it to this particular group. What group is it? Are you ready for this? Illegal immigration. Controlling it leads to solving so many other problems in our country. Among those problems are crimes like drug trafficking, human trafficking, sex slave, terrorism, and the wasteful spending of our tax dollars. On federal, the Office of Inspector General released the result of a recent audit which showed, listen to this, thousands of cases of benefits being paid to individuals without Social Security numbers. The amount discovered so far totals over $1 billion. The money was paid out over the last 10 years to more than 22,000 individuals. To add insult to injury, the report also showed that since 2004, over $800 million went to individuals whose access to benefits was supposed to have been revoked. And you wonder why people who've been paying in since 1969 are getting locked into poverty level, federal poverty level payments. You wonder why. You shouldn't wonder why. It's been robbed. It's been a scam since 1933. But now, how about this? How about last year, the real inflation rate in this country was just under 8%, 7.8%. Ask any Social Security beneficiary what they got for a pay raise because, they're supposed to get the cost of inflation. What'd they get? 0.2%. 0.2%. Let us go on. Furthermore, we the people will be paying over another $180 million per year in benefits to these people. We'll continue to pay individuals with no Social Security numbers if we don't take urgent action to correct the problem. This is Obama's government. This is what the Democratic side of the aisle stands for these days. I totally disagree with this. This is the bankers' government. Obama's nothing but a tool, and it's not just the Democrats, it's both sides of the aisle. There is no difference, and we're seeing that. Of course, you cannot dispute it now. There's no difference between the rhinos and the Democrats. No difference. So I disagree with that. Now, I want to stop here for the sake of time because I do have other things we've got to get into. Okay, let us continue. So how do you like that, folks? You're getting robbed from illegal immigrants to the tunes of billions of dollars. You're getting robbed from people who don't even have Social Security numbers for the tunes of billions of dollars. You're getting robbed by bankers because they give an insolvent corporation, USA Inc., permission to print Federal Reserve notes that we have to pay an interest bond due on it, but not because they put something into an account. No, because they merely made a ledger entry, a permission to print it. Think of that. So, Mr. Italian economic minister and the rest of these people out here that are all part of this system, if you really want to stop this, if you really want to correct it, all you have to do, it's really very simple, is do what Lincoln did and do what Kennedy attempted to do. Number one, protect your ass from getting shot. But number two, you have got to stop the Federal Reserve, private, foreign, for-profit banking corporation, making an interest dividend on every Federal Reserve note printed by the United States Treasury. Very simple, takes care of the problem. Done. Let us continue. Now, I'm running out of time already. This is about Illinois, the state of Illinois. The corporation, folks, every state is a corporation. Every county is a corporation. Every town, city, township, all corporations. Every water district is a corporation. There's over 35,000 corporations that make up the government in this land. We have gone over with this many, many times with you, and I don't have the time to get into all of it, but all of them corporations are insolvent to the parent corporation. This is why you don't own your land. Senate Document 43, all properties in the state and necessity to the state. This is why you bond your children. This is why you're bonded. Understand it. But now, it's time to pay the fiddler for the dance that's been going on since 1933. The mismanagement of Illinois by government bureaucrats and politicians have plunged the state into dire economic abyss. Illinois could be expected to slash pensions to 30 cents on the dollar to help stave off the harsh reality of nanny state policies and socialist promises. But problems with finances began when the state failed to realize that a stranglehold on the economy spells disaster and political promises are failures waiting to happen. The mass exodus of property owners began when the land of Lincoln decided to jack up property taxes in an attempt to cover up their awful Ponzi scheme mismanagement and the spiral into an almost $15 billion debt crisis. Folks, things are so bad in Illinois that Powerball and Mega Millions are bye-bye. They're no longer participating in Illinois. Think of that. Now, what product, these two, Mega Millions and Powerball, make billions of dollars a year. What product are they putting out? Are they producing cars, any kind of, no. They produce gambling, which was illegal until the government got involved with it. It was fine once the government got involved with it. Didn't work out too well for you if you were gambling on your own, you know, playing the little football cards that used to go around when I was a kid. Hell, you'd go to prison for that. But the government decided to get involved with it. It's okay now, as long as the government's involved with it, because the government's profiting from it. Works fine, doesn't it? Oh, and by the way, don't worry about it, because even though, you know, in Christianity it's immoral, of course we don't have morals in this country anymore, but besides all that, you accepted it. Why? Because it's going to pay for the outrageous school taxes. Has that happened? No, it hasn't happened. More lies for you to swallow. And you chewed on it rather well, didn't you? Has your property taxes gone down at all? Ever? No. Let us continue. Okay, I'm going to stop. Now, folks, I'm running out of time already. Anyway, there are 6 states that are right behind Illinois. Right behind them, ready to collapse. New Jersey, California, Connecticut. Think about that. New York. Think about it. Why? The states I just mentioned, I forget who the other 2 are off the top of my head right now, but understand what this means. Illinois is about to, police, firemen, EMS, the people who risk their lives and limbs every day. When everyone's running out of the building, they're running in. When everyone wants to get away from a horrific scene, they're running in to help. And they did it for a lifetime with putting funds into the pension fund, but the states haven't. And this isn't just Connecticut, California, New York, New Jersey, Illinois, my friends. I explained to you how the city of Providence, Rhode Island, was supposed to be putting into the firemen's fund, because all the firemen have been. 9 million, one little city, well, not little, but one city, $9 million the city of Providence owes just the firemen's pensions. So now the Illinois, these people worked all their lives, and now the only people who were cheating them was the government. And the only people who are going to go to prison for this is nobody. Because the Just Us system will defend the government. That's what the Just Us system's for. To defend the criminals, if they're part of the Just Us system. See, the problem becomes that you and I are not part of the Just Us system, so we go to jail. We get fined. We get prosecuted. Let us continue. Actually, folks, I'm going to stop right here. It gets into all the monies. It gets into how, guess what? They're screwed. That's what it gets into. They're screwed. These poor firemen, EMS, and police, risking their life and limb. Their families go through hell, especially if they're cops. My uncle was a cop in Providence, Rhode Island for 30-something years. And I hate to tell you what my cousins went through because their father was a cop. And that was back in the 60s and 70s. I'm sure it's worse now. And what's happened to them? Has anyone been charged? No. Anyone going to jail? No. How are these funds going to get supplemented into these retirement funds? You got it from your end of the deal. Even though you've been doing it all your life, you're going to pay more. Okay, my friends. This gentleman right here, very brave man. His name is Klaus Herbalwine. Now, Klaus was about to speak to the Congress in an investigative panel about what the Clinton Foundation did in Haiti. And we reported this to you, how they took hundreds of millions of dollars that were going to the poor people and children of Haiti through the Clinton Foundation and diverted it to the Clinton pocketbooks. As a matter of fact, I read one of the Vault 7 WikiLeaks to you from Chelsea Clinton, one of her emails to Bill and Hillary Clinton, because she's nervous about it. Not that her conscience is bothering her, that, hey, these poor children are starving, dying in disease, being taken away as sex slaves. And do you think we might get in trouble for this, she writes. Not that mom and dad, what about these poor children? But do you think we might get in trouble? Are we going to be protected here? We read that email to you verbatim. Okay. Klaus Herbalwine commits suicide ahead of testimony against Clinton Foundation. Did you notice there's been a complete media blackout on this? How come ABC, and all the rest of them haven't reported this? How come you haven't heard about this? Because you're still getting your indoctrination from these mainstream media moguls. Why, folks? Why? Why is it that you, in the age of the internet and the age of all the availability of information, because you're indoctrinated. See? You come home, you do your thing, you put on the tube, you go into your stage A hypnotic state. Okay, I've got to really get going with this. Okay, let's go. Let's just see. I'm going to have to scan through some of this, folks, real quick. Okay. On Friday, alleged suicide of Republican donor Peter W. Smith, who confessed to the Wall Street Journal that he and his team had worked with the Russian hackers to obtain Hillary Clinton's missing emails. What happened to him? Oh, he committed suicide. But now today reports are out that a former head of the Haitian government development agency allegedly committed suicide just prior to testifying against the Clinton Foundation before the Haitian Senate Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission And of course, the mainstream media is silent. Klaus Herbalwine, shown here, guys, 50, was found dead in his hotel room from an apparent gunshot wound to the head, according to the Miami-Dade medical examiner, who ruled his death a suicide. Now, don't forget, you got Vince Foster, 2 gunshots in his head, and he was ruled a suicide at Fort Mercy Park in Maryland. We got the children from Mena, Arkansas, who saw all the cocaine coming in, who were tied to the railroad track, committed suicide. I mean, folks, what is it? I think last I knew it was 130-something people that have tried to go up against the Clintons and have committed suicide. Klaus Herbalwine, a former Haitian government official, was found dead Tuesday in a South-Dade County motel room in what the Miami-Dade medical examiner official ruling is suicide. He shot himself in the head, said Veronica Lamar, Miami-Dade County medical examiner record supervisor. She listed the time of death as 12:19 p.m. It's really shocking, said Menches owner Gilbert Bailey. We grew up together. He was like family. Bailey said he last spoke to Urban 52 weeks ago, and he was in very good spirits. They were working on opening a Munchie's restaurant, blah, blah, blah. During and after his government tenure, Herbalwine faced allegations of fraud and corruption on how the agency he headed administered funds. Among the issues was oversight of shoddy construction of several schools built after Haiti's devastating January 2010 earthquake. Herbalwine, listen to this, Herbalwine was scheduled to appear Tuesday before the Haitian Senate Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission. The head of the commission, Senator Alain Bouillon, confirmed the commission is investigating the management of Petrocaribe funds, the money Haiti receives from Venezuela's discounted oil program. Now listen to what his statement is here. According to Herbalwine, 0.6% of all donations granted by international donors to the Clinton Foundation with the express purpose of directly assisting Haitians actually ended up in the hands of the Clinton Foundation and other organizations. How much money are we talking? 5.4 billion, B Bravo, dollars. How much of it wound up to the children? 0.6%. Now, for those of you who are homeschooling, or if you're in Common Core math, you can't do this, I'm sure, I'm positive. That means 99.4% went to the Clinton Foundation. My friends, there's other things here tied into the Clinton criminal family and all this. It goes back and back and back. I do not have the time. There you go. This was a brave, courageous man, and I'm very sorry for his family. And as a matter of fact, folks, when I did more research on him, he had expressed to his family how he was very, very concerned for his safety. He knew his life was being threatened. He was very courageous. He decided to go forward with this testimony, and the day before he was to go forward with this testimony, he never showed up to do the testimony. Why? Because he committed suicide. Okay, let us continue. The folks that we have here, you may recognize some of these pictures. The police officer you see is the police officer Mohammed Noor, a Somalian national who was a police officer. Now, there's a lot of information coming out on this. As a matter of fact, Bill, just before the program, did some quick update and told me some more information that's come out. What's taken place here, my friends, the victim is I want to get another picture for you, very attractive Australian woman who believed that there was a sexual assault going on in the area she was at. She called 911. The police cruiser with 2 police officers in it showed up. She approached the vehicle from the driver's side, unarmed, in her pajamas, and was speaking to the driver of the police vehicle. Moma Noor was in the front passenger seat. And then the police officers claimed they heard a bang, not a bang, I'm sorry, to quote unquote a loud noise. And the Somalian national police officer took out his gun. Now, mind you, he's in the front right seat, shot across his partner, who's sitting in the driver's seat, multiple times, striking this young Justine Damon in the stomach, fatally wounding her. She was unarmed. She was in her pajamas. She called 911. She approached the vehicle. There was a loud a loud noise. Hell, don't you shoot across? I mean, if you're going down the street and you hear a loud noise, don't you just start shooting people? Heard a loud noise. She came to inform the police officers where she said she was the one who called, and she was going to inform them where the possible crime was going on and why she called. A loud noise takes place, and the guy with all the women in the hijabs decides, well, we can't qualify where this loud noise came from. Obviously it didn't come from the woman who's about 5 feet in front of me in her pajamas, but I'm going to shoot her. The only thing I'm wondering is, did he yell Allah Akbar before he shot her? That's all I'm wondering. And what does this say about the training of police officers today? And I'll tell you, folks, they want this. See, they want the division. They want the division between us in every way, but particularly between the police and the patriots. They don't want the police and the patriots to get together and figure out what's going on. Because there is an awakening going on in a lot of police minds. I speak to them. I know. There are some who don't care. They're the cops and you're not. There are some that don't care because all they care about is, hey, I got 19 years and 9 days to go and I get my retirement plan. Ha! Yeah, 30 cents on the dollar. So, the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension went to this police officer, Mohammed Noor, and he's refusing to cooperate with Internal Affairs and this BCA. Can you believe that? A police officer is refusing to cooperate with the Just Us system in the shooting and the murdering of a unarmed female who was talking to the police in her pajamas, called 911, and he shot across his partner. So you may be saying to yourself, well, D'Ambra, it's law. They have to have their body cameras on. They'll know what happened. Oh, really? The Minneapolis police officers who arrived at Justine Damon's home shortly before she was shot and killed on Saturday did not have their body cameras on. There is a 30-second buffer in the film. Really? I wonder who made these arrangements. Oh, the Just Us system made these arrangements. Now, if you're supposed to do something and it's law, do you think you might get in trouble for not doing it? Do you think this beautiful young lady deserved to die at the hands of police, unarmed, in her pajamas, because there was a quote-unquote loud noise? We are very, very sorry to the family. Extremely sorry. That's the 4th time we've had to say sorry in this one show alone to either patriots or innocents. So what's going to happen here? What's going to happen? I'll tell you what's going to happen. If you do nothing, nothing is going to happen. Has anyone gone to jail for shooting an unarmed man with his hands in the air called Lavoy Finnegan? No. Even though 2 of the FBI agents have been caught lying in their testimonies, including one who said he didn't shoot. Actually, turned out he fired 2 rounds. Has anyone gone to prison for that? No. Did anyone go to prison for shooting the women and children as they came out of the gymnasium from the fires that the government set with the tanks from Fort Hood? No. Did anyone go to jail for shooting Sarah Weaver, Randy Weaver's family? No, actually they were promoted. Ron Hudiucci and others. Has anyone gone to jail, my friends, like Obama, for all the misappropriations and all the laws that were broken? No. No. You know, I find that interesting because with the private prison system we have now, there are, and we've read this to you, there are actually quotas that they will have X amount of these beds filled. Well, why don't you fill them with the real criminals, Mr. Jeff Sessions and others? The real criminals. The ones who gunned down innocent people. And also, what about the ones who murder police, shoot them in the back of their head as they're fueling their vehicles? Them are the real criminals. Not the people smoking marijuana because it helps with their pain. What about the bankers? What about all the congressmen? What about all the people tied in government who are breaking the laws every single day? You see, because the just us system, my friends, is meant for us in the sense of keeping the little people little. The just us system is not going to do anything for this very attractive young lady who lost her life and her family. Now, they may be an out-of-court settlement here, but who's going to pay that out-of-court settlement? We are. The little people who are meant to keep little. That's who. Just like the court's not going to pay the billions of dollars that I just read to you that were misappropriated. No. The court's not going to reimburse it. The court's going to order you to reimburse it. Is anyone going to go to jail? No. Why? Because we as a people allow this to go on. That's why. Let us continue. I have a very short time to read you an article that I thought was fantastic, and it's done by John Whitehead, and I'm just going to read it verbatim to you folks for the sake of time. The age of no privacy. Surveillance state shifts into high gear. Now, as I'm reading this to you, I want you to just keep in your mind about the Bill of Rights. And while we're doing this real quick, the Bill of Rights is not telling you what your rights are. The Bill of Rights was written to tell the government what they will not encroach upon. Because your rights don't come from government, my friends. Privileges come from government, not rights. Your rights are unalienable, not unalienable like they come from Mars or Pluto or Venus or Jupiter. Unalienable. Another great play on a beautiful word. Purposely, people started saying unalienable, my friends, in 1964. What happened in 1964? The federal government took over education in this country. Okay, Age of No Privacy by John Whitehead. The government has become an expert in finding ways to sidestep what it considers inconvenient laws aimed at ensuring accountability and thereby bringing about government transparency and protecting citizens' privacy. Indeed, it has mastered the art of stealth maneuvers and end runs around the Constitution. It knows all too well how to hide its nefarious, covert, clandestine activities behind the classified language of national security and terrorism. How many times have you heard, oh, we can't tell you because it affects national security? And who are the terrorists? Who are the terrorists? Huh? The Obama administration funded, supplied, and trained who? ISIS, Al-Qaeda. Who are the terrorists, folks? We fund the terrorists. We bring them into different countries. And when that doesn't suffice, it obfuscates, complicates, stymies, or just plain bamboozles the public into remaining in the dark. Case in point, the National Security Agency has been diverting internet traffic normally safeguarded by constitutional protections overseas in order to conduct unrestrained data collection of Americans. In much the same way the government moved its torture programs overseas in order to bypass legal prohibitions against doing so on American soil, it is doing the same for its surveillance programs. Listen to this. By shifting its data storage, collection, and surveillance activities outside of the country, a tactic referred to as traffic shaping, the government is able to bypass constitutional protections against unwarranted searches of Americans' emails, documents, social networking data, and all other cloud-stored data. Can you say academia, financial, medical? Ha ha ha. They're lying to you again, folks. The government, however, doesn't need to move its programs overseas. It just has to push the data over the border in order to circumvent constitutional and statutory safeguards seeking to protect the privacy of Americans. My friends, you've got to understand when these privacy bills were written, that was particularly left out so they would give them a back door so they could continue the surveillance and the collection of your personal information. You think these congressmen are too stupid to figure this out? No, this was placed purposely. No wonder the NSA appeared so unfazed by how the USA Freedom Act, isn't that funny, the USA Freedom Act, which was supposed to put an end to the NSA's controversial collection of metadata from American phone calls. The NSA had already figured out a way to accomplish the same results, illegally spying on Americans' communications, without being shackled by the legislative or judicial branches of the government. Mind you, this metadata collection, now being carried out overseas, is just a very small piece of the surveillance pie. The government, and listen, the government and its corporate partners, very important you understand that, the government and its corporate partners have a veritable arsenal of surveillance programs that will continue to operate largely in secret, carrying out warrantless mass surveillance on hundreds of millions of Americans' phone calls, emails, text messages, personal information, and the like, beyond the scrutiny of Congress and the taxpayers who are forced to fund its multi-billion-dollar secret black apps budget. On any given day, the average American going about his daily business is monitored, surveilled, spied on, or tracked in at least more than 20 different ways by both government and corporate eyes and ears. Whether you're walking through a store, driving your car, checking email, talking to friends and family on the phone, doing banking business, doing medical, anything, you can be sure that some government agency, whether it's the NSA or some other entity, is listening recording and tracking your behavior. This doesn't even begin to touch on the corporate trackers that monitor your purchases, web browsing, Facebook posts, and other activities taking place on the cybersphere. We have now moved into a full-blown police state that is rapidly shifting into high gear under the auspices of the surveillance state. Not content to merely transform local police into the extensions of the military, the Department of Homeland Security, the Justice Department, and the FBI, are working to turn the nation's police officers into techno warriors, complete with iris scanners, body scanners, thermal imaging cameras, Doppler radar devices, facial recognition programs, license plate readers, and much, much more. Add in the fusion centers, citywide surveillance networks, data clouds conveniently hosted overseas by Amazon and Microsoft. Why are they overseas? I just explained it to you. Drones equipped with thermal imaging cameras, biometric databases, and you've got the making of a world in which privacy is reserved exclusively for government agencies. Thus, the NSA's techno-tyranny, I love that, John. The NSA's techno-tyranny is the least of our worries. Just about every branch of the government, from the Postal Service to the Treasury Department, and every agency in between, now has its own surveillance sector authorized to spy on the American people. And of course, that doesn't even begin to touch on the complicity of the corporate sector, which buys and sells us from the cradle to grave until we have more data left to mine. No more data left to mine. Indeed, Facebook, Amazon, and Google are among the government's closest competitors when it comes to carrying out surveillance on Americans, monitoring the content of your emails, tracking your purchases, exploiting your Social Security numbers, media posts, and turning that information over to the government. It's just not or private parties, corporate parties, because they sell the information, folks. It's not just what we say, where we go, and what we buy, and what we do that is being tracked, but we're being surveilled right down to our genes, thanks to a potent combination of hardware, software, and data collection that scans our biometrics, our faces, irises, voices, genetics, even our walking gait, runs them through the computer programs that can break the data down to unique identifiers, and then offers them up to the government and its corporate allies for their prospective uses. All of the internet-connected gadgets we just have to have. Forbes refers to them as dating pipelines to our intimate body processes, are setting us up for a brave new world where there is nowhere to run and nowhere to hide. Incredibly, there is still individuals who insist that we have nothing to fear from the police state and nothing to hide from the surveillance state because they have done nothing wrong. To those sanctimonious few, secure in their delusions, let this be a warning. There is no safe place and no watertight alibi. The danger posed by the American police surveillance state applies equally to us all. Eventually, we will all be made to suffer the same consequences in the electronic concentration camp that now surrounds us. I totally agree, Mr. John Whitehead. Awesome, awesome article. And I'll tell you, folks, that's in the American Free Press on the July 3rd and 10th edition. It's issue number 27 and 28. If you're interested in reading that article yourself. The American Free Press, my friends, for those of you not familiar with it, the American Free Press is a bunch of people that used to be real bigwigs in the mainstream media, print, digital, all of it, from all perspectives of the media. And they all looked in the mirror and said, can't do this no more. We can't be part of this anymore. So they formed a newspaper called The Spotlight. The government shut The Spotlight down in the late 90s, early 2000s, and they didn't give up, folks. They didn't give up. They reorganized and they came out with the American Free Press, and now it's doing very well. I highly recommend it. I'm not promoting them, but if you're looking for some real information, American Free Press is a good source. My friends, obviously I ran out of time, didn't get into all of it. So just to sum up the whole hour, more Clinton people going against the Clinton Foundation, dying. Another patriot lost, Dr. Michael Kaufman. More innocents killed in Klaus Herbalwine and the Damon young lady that was shot by the cops. So nothing's changed, my friends. We're only the ones that are going to change it. As always, we're very thankful you take the time from your busy day to watch our program. We always close in reminding you and asking you to seek truth, to obtain knowledge, manifest kindness to your fellow man, and we always close in reminding you that your government is your responsibility, and we thank you for watching.
Read between the lines. Got to read between the lines.